Marta?
Here.
Emily?
Here.
Tom?
Here.
Jack?
Here.
Brad's here. So we are here. We have everybody here. Let's begin with our opening invocation and the pledges. Join me in standing. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for your love and care for us. We thank you for the blessings you share upon us, allowing us to live in this wonderful country and wonderful state and community we live in. We ask your guidance tonight as we do people's business. We pray for wisdom, understanding. We pray for cooperation, spirit of wisdom and understanding, that we make good decisions that would honor you and serve our residents. We pray these things in Christ's name. Amen. Start with pledge to the American flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Texas flag. On the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one nation, under God, one indivisible. Thank you. Do we have any comments from the public? Okay, you want to introduce yourself and tell us?
Directors, thank you for your service to the district. My name is Rod Rudine. I am with Texas Groundworks Management. TGM is a landscape maintenance contractor that services water districts, HOAs, and commercial properties. We do work in Harris County and surrounding counties. And I just wanted to share some information with you. There's a card in front of you that has a list of our major services. Real quick, I just want to say that as a landscaper, we do, of course, grass cutting and flower beds, but we also do tractor mowing. We do tree care from planting to removal. We are licensed to do irrigation installation and repair. We also do site work. We do erosion control, everything from detention pond excavation to hydroseeding and the monthly maintenance and stormwater reporting. We also do park improvements, concrete work, and custom fencing. We have a landscape architect on staff, and we're able to do design build for special projects with 3D imaging and so forth for your needs. We just want to share our information with you to let you know we're out there. Resource to you for any of your needs. If you're reviewing any of your current services, we would like to be available to give you a price. Other than that, we just want you to keep our information as an emergency for anything that comes up. And we do everything from a master plan community install to small area mowing, just depending on the needs of the district. We're very flexible. That's all I have. Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming, Rod. And Eric, I guess you keep these.
Yeah, I need to get a copy.
Oh, you can get one.
I need to get the card.
We don't make, as a MUD, make the decision on the mowing. That's through the Woodlands Water Authority.
Okay.
Yeah, we can,
If I may say, the MUD districts have the authority to be able to appropriate funds sometimes for special projects. One district, all they told me had was just underground sewer. That's it, nothing above ground. I mentioned to them about that, and he said, oh, we did actually appropriate funds to cut all the trees in the esplanade for the HOA. It's like, there you go. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Anything else? Okay, any adjustments? Great. Okay. Consent agenda, items 5 through 8. They're in the packet. The one thing I would comment on is both Emily and I were gone last week, or last meeting. So I did watch the video, but the minutes, I don't have any comments on the minutes or anything else. Any comments? Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as
Motion to approve.
okay? Do I have a second?
Second.
All approved? Say aye. Aye. Okay. Any opposed? Okay, consent agenda is approved. That takes us to item 9, which is the review on the draft fiscal 26-27 operating budget for MUD 7. And I think that's Eric and
This packet with the cover sheet, just gives a little bit of background, and then the budget worksheet that actually goes into a little bit more detail on some of the line items. Overall, revenue in the district is projected at 5% increase, with overall expenditures decreasing 4%. Do want to point out, almost down to the bottom of the page, the mid-range line item 5480, that's $68,000. That is if you have in your budget in your agenda and heard last month, the Bear Branch budget, SBA is proposing 1.5 million to get the dam engineering project moving forward. And so if you recall, we were able to get pledges from the 5 non-contracted MUDs last year. It occurred after the budget, so we put it in this year's budget for them. That amounts to about just over 1.2 million overall. So we put that number in each of the non-contracted MUDs as their pledge, associated with their pledge. And then the remainder from 1.5 to the 1.2 roughly is split per the contracted members, which you were one of at your contracted percentage. So the resultant of that is the amount of the 68,000 that's in this budget. So otherwise it would have been a lot more.
Was this previously like 94,000?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
I think it was even more than that, maybe.
This is for the engineering services, or this is step one?
It's for that 1.5 million that was put in that's in this draft Bear Branch budget.
Eric, did they all approve that? Did they all approve to be, even though they weren't part of the,
Last fall, they all voted to approve that pledge. And then but that amount of money was not requested at that time. And so now that it is with the 1.5 being projected in this budget, the Bear Branch budget, we went ahead and put it in all of theirs now. It's
will
still
it be the first time they see it then? Through
in the budget. I mean, they've all voted and approved on it previously. So far, 2 of the 5 have seen their budgets with no issue. And that was and those 2 were worth 1.1 million. Those were the 2 big pledges in Metro and Netherlands. So looks good.
So my only question, is this just the engineering for the dam work? Where's the base maintenance for Bear Branch?
That they are not involved in that.
No, I know, but in our budget, where's the base maintenance for Bear Branch?
Isn't that what we're talking about, the mowing and all this?
Yeah, that's in there too. That's your share of that as well.
That's in the 68,000?
That's in the 68?
That was like 10,000, wasn't it?
It was last year. I don't.
I think in the last meeting it was $10,000 for that.
Yeah, so last year's budget was 62. And we say we're gonna spend 62, and this year's is only going up to 68. I thought we had. I'm surprised this number's not bigger, I guess, is where I'm coming from.
It's all based on the proposed Bear Branch budget.
Okay.
that's because we have more
Okay,
people.
you're a pretty small share of the
Yeah.
overall project, so there's not much of the remaining 270,000 on the 1.5. So you're a pretty small share of that.
And this doesn't include any, I guess maybe we'll get into it when we look at your sheet, doesn't include any construction or this is just detailed design.
Just design.
Is this fund all of detailed design?
Yes, sir, it does.
Okay.
Well, let me back up. It funds what we proposed in our budget of the 1.32 million. It funds that.
Okay.
And that is design.
Why I'm going deep in this is I'm looking to future budgets and construction needs relative to our reserves.
There's gonna be a sizable number next year.
Do we know
No,
what sizable is?
no, sir, we don't, because we don't have an updated cost estimate,
I mean,
and we won't have until,
So to refresh everyone's memory, what was shown last year, and remember that what Ed presented, last month or the month before was
the range of what the project might end up being. And so last year, when we were contemplating the non-members to get involved, there was, using the bigger number at that time, there would have been a potential of just under 5 million in shortfall. And so that number is still not identified until we have more of the engineering come out from Schnall. So, but regardless of what that number ends up being, the pledge participants agreed to a certain number. And so that's flat. What the eventual number will be for the rest of the contracted participants is still unknown. I think the range was somewhere between 10 million and 14 or 15 million.
14 is what's on that sheet.
So the shortage.
We have numbers around as 15.
Fall was that 4.8 million
Yeah.
was associated with the bigger number.
But the the non-committed MUDs only committed to design or design
To
work,
design.
not construction. So we will be funding construction. Yeah, I don't know when you want to talk about it, but you know, the elephant in the room is we're projected to go up to 16.6 on reserves, which is much higher than what we typically would be. It wasn't clear whether your intent was this is storing money away for future dam construction, or was it just the way the numbers worked out. And what I want to do is I want to avoid going down and coming back up a whole lot. But also, I'm very uncomfortable with the 16. I mean, that's, our target was 12, nominally 12.
12 to 18 is where we, and with this much infrastructure coming down the pipe, and I think you're in a good spot for sure. I certainly wouldn't, I mean, we'll talk about the tax rate recommendations here in a minute, but I think you're in a really good spot. You'll end the year this year, start the year at about 13, so it will go up a little bit.
When we did this analysis before, I have it on some other sheet, but if you take prorated out, our 94,000 or whatever that is now, some smaller percentage of the total, right? So we ought to be able to back in roughly to what that maximum is. And to me, it seemed like it was like 400 to 500,000 for us.
Yeah, so at that time, the shortfall, your share of the shortfall was about 400,000. And with the pledges, it goes down to about 300,000. 296.
Yeah, we can
That
cover
was
that
446.
comfortably.
Yeah. So it's basically 300,000 was the projected shortfall if the $14 million project, it was the one that got selected.
The 300,000 is less than 1 month's reserve. So why do we need 16 months reserve versus 12 months reserve?
Well, we talk about tax rate, we can talk about what we want to do.
Right.
Okay,
We
but
can-
I mean,
We can go beyond parity and cut it further.
yeah, I mean, that's, I was trying to justify why do we need 16? And the most likely cause I saw was the Bear Branch stuff. And that's why, while we were talking about Bear Branch, I wanted to have that discussion, so we can have the rest of the discussion.
But I mean, I think the only impact to take it down right now at this point is the tax rate, right? I mean, these guys put together a budget and the budget sort of, and it uses the typical revenue streams we have come in. The only one we have control over right now, I guess we could reduce the water rate, but the one we have control over is the tax rate.
Right, and then that's, to me, that's the major discussion that we have for tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other item that will be coming back is on the TAN side.
Yep.
On 5,309, you see that 194 drops to 7,500
Yeah.
for this month. So remember, there's 3 phases to that project. So a portion, so construction of phase 3, we thought that there would be some work that might be done in this budget year, but it's not. So we have shifted in this next fiscal year, we're going to be doing the engineering. That's why up on the engineering line item, that goes up a little bit because they're going to do the engineering for phase 3 of the sanitary sewer rehabilitation project. We took out the construction for phase 3 because we don't believe that will likely be in fiscal year 27 or next year. And so, but that will be coming back in 28. What that number will be, it'll probably be in that ballpark, 175 to 200.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked earlier about, you know, my preference would be to do a 27 fiscal year budget with a 28 look ahead to help us understand the ups and downs. I understand WWA has never done that, but I think ultimately that's where we need to be headed, to comprehend these things that go up and down. So we've moved money up to engineering. We've taken money away from sewer repair for 27. And for 28, we're going to flip them back probably. Okay.
So between Bear Branch coming in the next couple of years and that coming back, that's about 500,000.
Which is less than 2 months. You want to, I mean, were you gonna go through any other line items or were you?
Yes, I
Oh,
just,
okay.
we stopped right there. On the backside, I just mentioned the engineering. Let's see, other notables, the sewer, which we just talked about. And large ditch goes down. We did a lot of the work. We mentioned to you that that was probably a 12 to 18 month, maybe longer period. We did a good chunk of that this year. We're still going. We still have some budget that we're proposing next year to hopefully wrap up the majority of that, subject to any, level 2 conditions going to level 3s, which will always, we'll be monitoring that annually.
And I looked in the last month, we're way below the plan on that. Is that just an invoicing issue or a timing issue?
A little bit of both. I mean, we put some is still to be done, some is still needs to be invoiced. So we're trying to get as much as we can done this fiscal year, but there still will be some that we won't be able to.
So you don't think you'll hit the expense line?
Not entirely, probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the fiscal year ends in August 31st,
September 30th.
September.
Yeah, so we got a month and a half. They're working.
So on the large ditch, it looks like the current year budget was 367. We spent 147
Right.
and we're projecting next year to be 200, which is looks like the carryover, right?
Pretty much,
Yeah.
yeah. And then the other item associated with ditches also is 2 lines down, the storm sewer repair. So if it's a storm sewer that comes into the ditches, then that's classified under that line item. If it's a backslope interceptor or tree trim back or desilt, it would be in the large ditch item. So both of those items are ditch related.
And
And that goes down too. That's going down a little bit too.
yeah, but I mean, that one, we're less than half, right? Budget of 444 and we're around 140.
Yeah, and we still each year put in a certain amount for the what ifs. I
Yeah.
mean, we have planned and unplanned.
No, I think it's great.
Yeah.
I think this is an area that I think, we've talked, we got behind maybe a little bit, but
Catching up.
catching up, and these numbers will come back down to a more. Do you think it will end up fully utilizing the 3 people we brought on staff just for ditch and sewer work?
That's all they do every day.
Well, I know now, but in 2 years, do you think they'll still be doing?
They will be, so we'll be cross-training them into our normal waterworks stuff. And then, but also be in the ditches, because we don't think the ditch work will go away. We don't want it to, so.
Right now.
We're gonna go more into maintenance mode at that point. And the heavy lifting perhaps will be done, but as time goes on, as we're collecting more data on, for instance, things like how often does ditch X need to be desilted? Well, we don't know that right now, but what we do know is we're gonna clean it out and then monitor when it starts to fill back in. Same with the trees. At what point do we need to go back in and do that? If we keep up with it, which is what our plan is, then it won't be these big swings.
Right.
And we'll just keep it consistent throughout the months. That's the plan going forward. But we'll be collecting more data as we go now. We have that capability with the GIS system that was built.
You never talked about the mowing schedule before? So if you mow one less time, is that money that's not banked, or these guys paid for the whole year?
No,
They paid each mow?
Yep.
So if they do an extra one, then we pay them for that extra one. Okay.
Yeah, we budgeted this current year, 5. We've had 4 in the past, and the 5th was as needed. Because as I tell people, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever it was a wet summer. So we had to, we didn't have it in the budget, so we only mowed, 4, and we had a lot of complaints because
You know, that with a little 90-degree weather and some rain, that grass will grow to your thigh in a month. And folks aren't happy when they see that.
So the fifth is for this coming year or for this past?
It's in this budget. I don't know if we'll
In
need,
this budget,
yeah,
okay.
this summer, the way it's panning out, I don't think we'll need it, but we have it if we. So those were the majority of the highlights on the budget. As you can see, ending year cash is about 5 million. That is about 16.6. Ending the year or beginning this year, beginning next fiscal year, end of this fiscal year is 13.9 projected. So the budget, at least at this tax rate and revenue stream, would go up about 2.7 months roughly. So that 2028 number you just said, that would cut down about 2 months of that. Should be right about almost flat, maybe a month up roughly from where you are right now.
Can you comment on the other revenue, the 4,900 line item? Looks like years past, well, it was small, then 200, then 300.
Refunds, GRP, all the different excess funds or surplus funds.
Okay. So it's,
So that's, yeah, we don't.
I can't budget that. No.
No, it's good when it comes, but we don't budget for it.
What it really means, it was a dry year,
Or,
right? I mean, that, yeah. Okay. Are there comments or questions on the budget? From a work process standpoint, this is initial review. This will feed into the discussion on the tax rate, which we'll take action on tonight from a posting. And then next month, we will approve this. So if you got questions, tonight's the night for discussion. Not that we can't discuss next month, but certainly send Eric any questions you've got after you haven't had a chance to read.
Before, and I get the impression that there's potentially changes that will occur next month.
oh, yeah, actuals will come in, yeah, it's gonna be. We'll have, at this time next month, we'll have August actuals, but we won't have September actuals.
Yeah.
Which we, yeah, we estimate it every year. And so one of the things that we do to try to make it as accurate as we can related to the billing you mentioned, is we kind of push on our contractors to make sure they get their invoicing in, so we can account for it in this budget stuff. But that's particularly speaking of the ditch work. They're good for us.
Is the infrastructure renewal fee something new?
It was new earlier this year. It was decided to take the GRP reduction of 11 cents and equalize that as infrastructure renewal fee of the same 11 cents, knowing that, you know, when the tier 1 water line projects come into effect, that has the possibility of going to 43 cents, I think. So it was an effort to try to start capturing some of that without whipsawing the customers down and up and down and up.
Thank you.
We didn't want to do a 11-cent reduction and then come back 18 months later and do a 43% or 43-cent increase. Okay.
And this is based on the base case as requested by the trustees.
And the big drivers for this is River Authority's ability to control their costs and keep their rates in good shape. So we appreciate that. So, okay. Anything else on item 9? This will come back next month as an action.
Yes.
Okay.
No action tonight.
And then the appraisal district.
got my name on there, but really Jeannie's been covering it with the board, the appraisal district budget.
It's just that last month, if you remember, I told you we had the proposed budget and it was at 5.51% increase at $20 million. They talked to some of the taxing jurisdictions and they wanted them to rework it, and they did, got it down to 2.83. They cut 2 full-time employees, so it's from 18 to 16 now, and they also cut their merit raises. So now it's at 19 million, and your share that you're going to show reduced. You're gonna be saving $84.27. And it is out on the Google Drive if you want to review it, the revised budget.
So you asking us to endorse that, or it says act?
Yeah, so action's not necessary. So we had at least one board that took a particular interest in it and had asked for it to be on, all the agendas. So it's on here. Technically, you don't have to take action unless you want to disapprove of it. They have to have 51%, or is it 51?
Yeah.
Percent approval, but not voting is approval. So if you want to disapprove, you want to take action. Otherwise, action is not necessary.
You say the number was $84.27?
Yeah.
No.
Not per person, not per month, per year.
Your impact on your percentage of the cost and your impact on the vote is influenced by the amount of your levy. So as your tax rate goes down, you become less influential and less of a cost share with the president district. So take that as a badge of honor.
Our vote's basically inconsequential anyway.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so we go wrap up 10? Okay, good. So 11 yours?
Yeah, that's me, David Wood with Cedar Creek Municipal Advisors.
Yeah, I started calling Adam. I said, you're not Adam.
Adam will be here
And then
tomorrow.
David-
I'm filling in today, but
welcome.
happy to be here
Welcome,
tonight to talk about your tax rate for the 2026 tax year and to start the process that we go through each year to set our tax rate. As y'all may recall from previous year's meetings in August and September, we have a 2-step process to set our tax rate. Tonight is step 1, where the action for tonight is to call a public hearing for next month's meeting, where we'll consider the tax rate and adopt a tax rate. The other action for tonight is determine the proposed rate that goes into that notice of public hearing. And again, important to note that the proposed rate that goes into that notice of public hearing establishes a maximum for the tax rate that can be levied next month when we do, conduct that public hearing and levy the tax at our September meeting. So again, we're not levying a tax tonight. We are establishing a maximum that goes into our notice. And so that being the case, we set up our recommendation to provide for the tax rate that is the highest that the district could levy without having an election to get voter approval to adopt a higher tax rate. Get into the details there in a second. But if you're looking at our recommendation on page 17, we can go through the values side of things real quickly. We received new certified values from the Montgomery CAD that show for the 2026 tax year a net taxable value for the district of $1,341,000,000. That 26 value is up around 4.2% from our 2025 taxable value of $1,287,000,000. So we have about $54 million in additional taxable value on the roll for 2026. And again, as I mentioned earlier, we are proposing within this letter here our total tax rate for 26, of course, all made up for maintenance and operations. We don't have any outstanding debt. But the proposed rate for 2026 is a 0.105320 for $100 of assessed valuation, or said differently, 10.532 cents. That 10.532 cents is 0.1265 cents less than last year's 2025 tax rate of 10.6585 cents. So we have a lower proposed rate that would generate more revenues as a function of the increase in value every year. Some key numbers are on the second page of our recommendation, which is page 8.
So tonight, we're just certifying a rate for the public consumption. And next month, we can take that rate wherever we want, somewhere below.
As long as it goes lower. Yeah. So the default, or when in doubt, publish higher. If y'all have a discussion about, okay, we know we're not going to go above this level, whatever this level is, then publish that, because, that's what your public's going to see, assuming they read the Courier, which I know is a big assumption nowadays, but assuming they actually see the notice, then if you have a higher rate in there than you're going to consider, then that's given the impression that you're considering a rate that you're really not going to, and make people think you're going to have a higher, increase than what you would. So that's kind of the background. But if you're not going to go above a certain rate, then that's where you.
I appreciate the work on this backside to give us some information that we didn't have last year, to look at different options. I mean, I'm not sure what we do for the next meeting, but I'm clearly in favor of reducing the rate below parity, because we're talking not a lot about a lot of money. I mean, you look at the, if we go to parity, all we're giving up is going from 13.79 to 13.68 of reserve. I mean, it's $40,000. And if we go down to the other rate of 1.314, I mean, we're talking peanuts here. There's no reason for us to increase the rate or the tax bill to our residents. The other thing that's in this too is they did a very conservative assumption on collections of 98%. If you look at the historical, it's always like 99.5 every year.
That 1% would generate another $14,000 or so we talked about earlier.
Yeah, it's 14. If you went up to 99.5, would be 21. I mean, it's just, so there's more money there too from that, which I think is a reasonable assumption. Is it possible too, when the August numbers come in, given the fact it's very dry, that we could see that 13.9 or 13.8, the starting point, actually go up? When you reevaluate this? But I think our revenue is going to be pretty high for August, given how dry it is. That's my position. The question is, what do we set for the next meeting? In which we can discuss what the actual rate is. I propose we put parity as our rate.
The rate that produces the same amount of M&O tax revenues last year, or do you want to keep the homestead tax bill flat?
Define that.
So we have two rates that are, descriptions of parity of some sort.
Right.
On the top box, the third row, the 10.2291, that is the rate that generates the same amount of tax revenues as was the case last year. On the bottom box, on the second row from the top, the 10.1760, that is the tax rate that equates to a flat tax bill on the average homestead year over year, right? So that would keep the tax bill on average at $420, as was the case last year.
Well, that would be the one that I would recommend.
Understood. And the difference there is nominal as well. But again, when we set these things up, want to kind of give, the best range of options, since we're setting a maximum tonight, and did set up the recommendation to be the rate that is the highest that we can do without an election, which is the rate that produces an increase of 3.5% on the tax bill of the average homestead. And we'll also point out the M&O tax rate to balance our budget of 10 cents. That was based on a prior draft budget that had around $5.26 million in expenditures. Based on the budget that we're looking at tonight with $4.84 million of expenditures, the rate just to purely balance the budget is 6.75 cents. But Brad, as you mentioned earlier, when we're talking about setting our tax rate and looking at budgets, the budget for the next 12 months is, just a very small part of the picture. Really have to have a more forward-looking, outlook on things, especially with, the rules under the water code that we're now, restricted to, and the limitations of the district's ability to increase its tax rate, without an election.
Don't anybody else have any? Jack's made a case.
I feel like with all the pending fees we have coming up, as far as stuff that we're paying out here, when we look ahead, I think we need to consider that when we're making a decision.
It's 16.9, Emily. Brad said that's a very high number. Last year, we had the same discussion, and now here we are driving at the 13.9, and we keep going up. We sort of have a projection into what we're going to have. We talked about the Bear Branch Dam. We can cover that. That only is going to reduce us by 16.9 to 15.9. I think we have an obligation to our residents to not act like bureaucrats and take the money anytime we can and keep raising it up for unanticipated things.
Unanticipated things. And we've been through so many line items of items that are coming our way.
Well,
A lot of study.
where are they? Define them, because that's what Brad is asking for, a budget for the next year. And we talked about what the Bear Branch, maybe it's 400,000, 500,000. What else is there that we're going to be funding?
We have all of the road work.
That's what we're doing, that talking about water rate.
Well,
And-
so one option is, can we fund the engineering through water rates, not have to do tax rates for the engineering, and only change the tax rate with a vote for construction? Okay.
Well, we can always have a rollback election if we need to raise the tax rate to pay for the construction.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't think there's any way we can fund the construction without a rollback election, do you?
Well, yeah, rates.
The rate,
That's
water
the
rate.
way, that's where.
Well, I'm sorry, we can't get the tax rate we need without having a rollback election. If we don't, to fund the construction for the water transmission projects, if we do it via tax rate, we will have to have a rollback election.
If the decision is ever made that the tax rate route is the path, you would have to do a rollback tax.
And we think tax rate increases are an advantage to our residents relative to water rate increases for very large expenditures.
As it gets bigger and bigger, the benefit gets better and bigger.
Bigger and bigger.
I think the smaller amounts, not a whole lot, but
Right, and
as it
that's,
gets bigger and bigger, that they diverge.
so I think as you get into construction, you're going to have to look at tax rate increases.
We talked about that before, right? We talked about maybe doing 2 phases. The first one would be a water rate increase, and then when the bill starts to get bigger, then we take a rollback election, maybe we reduce the water rate back down. Those are options we discussed previously, but it's.
Well, if we keep the water rate and the tax rate
So water
similar
rate
with
would
it,
fund the first phase of the project, and then the second phase, maybe we would roll all that in.
the
And
current water rate won't fund it.
roll back. Current water rate wouldn't. We talked about,
Yeah.
at one time it was about 47 cents.
Yeah.
And that was when it was a big project. It wasn't when it was
So the
divided.
question is, if we kept this at 102 or 105, instead of getting a 43 cent water rate increase, would we get a 35 cent water rate increase? And the balance being paid by the tax rate? Okay. Without having to do a rollback election. Okay.
It gets a little bit complicated if districts decide to kind of move those levers differently, just because then the community starts to see different rates. If like one district says, well, I'm just gonna go to 35 because I've got some extra cash. The other district can't do that. They gotta go to 45 cents. It's gonna be a little complicated across the woodlands.
Yeah, I think the overarching theory for most of these districts in terms of the recommendation to go to the max on the 3.5% before, having a rollback election. At the end of the day, it's absolutely up to the board. But the overarching theory is if there's a possibility that you're going to have a rollback election, then if you are more aggressive now in driving your rate down, you're going to have a larger rollback election later. And so if you bleed that down more slowly, just to keep the 3.5 or go to parity, then you're reducing the amount because one, you're stockpiling money now that you could use to help pay things with cash and drive down.
We're stockpiling like $40,000.
Again, that's a policy to say. I'm just telling you kind of what the overarching theory is that if you're thinking you're going to have a rollback in the future, then it's going to increase the amount of that rollback because you'll have less cash put away to absorb what the rollback would be, number one, and you're going to be starting from a lower rate to have to go up. So that's not something you're going to see today, tomorrow. It may be 2 or 3 years before you get to that point, but just keep in mind as you're trying to have a long-term, look at what the impacts are. And look, is it going to make that big of a difference if you go from the 3.5 to parity here, no, but if you get pretty aggressive, then it could have a material impact on what you're looking at on a rollback rate in the future.
I guess, so Jack's made a discussion position to go to the second line in the bottom box, which is to maintain average rates, average tax bill the same. Okay. The one up from that would be the parity. The third line on the top box is the 102. And the recommendation from the financial team is the 105. So I think those are the three, and these are only publishing. This is not, what I would like to see us do is align on what we want to publish and then align on what data we would like to review for next month so we can make a vote next month on where we want to set it. With the understanding that what we're publishing is only the highest we can go. I think if we go down to the 101, there's no discussion next month. We're not going lower than that, and we can't go higher because that's what we published. I think if we publish something a little higher, then next month we can have a discussion on where we set it. But
I would like to propose that we go with the higher amount, see what the discussion is in public. And at that point, we can set the real figure, correct?
so which,
The 10532.
Jack, did you feel like you had a motion on the table, or were you just talking? 'Cause I don't want her to interrupt your
I was
motion.
just talking, but I would put a motion on the table if you want to go with the 1.102291.
Right. Well, since you didn't have an official one, you have, so you're making a proposal, a motion.
To publish the 0.10532, which is the proposed
The
2020.
second line on top box,
Yes,
which is the maximum we can do.
no, it's not.
It
This is
is.
the maximum we can do
That
this
would
year
be
without
full
election.
options next month.
Yeah, just-
Well, I propose we publish that and have discussion because it's not in stone. If we publish it, we can still have
We
discussion.
have a motion. Do we have a second? Okay. Do you want to make an amendment, or do you want to vote on this and then you're okay?
Well, I'm gonna vote against it.
Okay,
Yeah, I mean, I want the 1.02291.
even to publish.
And David, you guys are gonna present revised numbers on this next month, aren't you? When we have new data, more data?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, this chart. So when we evaluate this next month, we'll have more data.
Yeah, but the biggest thing that's going to change is the budget update. These numbers won't change dramatically.
On
Okay.
that chart, I won't.
Yeah, no. So we have a motion and a second for that we publish 0.105320 as our proposed tax rate. We have a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed?
No.
Voting?
I'll vote aye.
Okay, so we passed. We will publish the 105,320 with that's an action, that's a conclusion. The expectation is we come back next month and we decide what we really want to set it.
Either we're gonna keep the higher rate or go lower.
We can go lower. And the question is, how low do we go? And we need to decide what information would we like WWA to provide us to help us have that discussion. So I think expected future expenditures that would impact, that would provide a justification for why we want to build our reserves up to 16 or whatever, maybe 17 by the time we get the new numbers. Okay. Because I think from a public standpoint, I was comfortable at 12. We'd worked to get the numbers up to 12 to 14. Yeah. Okay. At 16. And I think the struggle we're having is how much do we want to build reserves for future spending? Current residents may not be here when that future spending comes. Why are we taking their money and putting it in the bank as opposed to taking the people money when the future's here?
But we're
Okay.
only talking $40,000.
We're only talking 40,000,
Oh,
but it's the directional. Okay. And as Brian has mentioned, we're looking at two impacts. One is you have less reserves and you have a lower base to start from. Okay. What I would like to see is what we think the engineering cost will be going forward for, I guess the engineering on town center is paid for.
Yes. What's not paid for is the easements at 3.6
The land, yeah.
and then the construction at whatever number that is.
Yeah.
And then
So our share of 3.6 would be interesting to know what that is. Because you would like that money by March next year.
well, we're talking town center, or we talking,
Oh, that's,
Branch.
no, we're talking water transmission lines.
paying cash?
That's the question is, can we pay cash for that?
I don't know what your percentage is.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's something that I wasn't looking for spot answers. It's just, these are items that we can discuss next month to say, let's have an inventory of what we might spend. And how are we comfortable? Are we comfortable just going down to the 101.76 and saying, we want to minimize the amount of cash we take in until we're forced to go up? Or we want to say, let's go ahead and move up our reserves, knowing we've got these other expenses coming.
What happens if we don't budget enough? Then what do we have to do? Raise rates?
Yeah,
Raise, at a minimum, raise water sewer rates.
water sewer rates, yeah, you wouldn't raise mid-year, you can't raise tax rates.
And is that something we can do instantaneous or does that? take-
That's a really bad public, I mean, that looks like you haven't been doing your business.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. That's,
Well, that helps answer, yeah.
Yeah. we don't want to do that. Okay. But I think for 2027, either of these numbers, all these numbers give us sufficient funds for 2027. This is really what do we want to have going into 2028?
It doesn't make much difference going to 2028. The issue comes into what Brian said, if you have to go to a rollback. $40,000 is peanuts. $70,000 is peanuts in this. That's not the big number that's going to make any difference in 2028. It's going to be the rollback kind of thing. We have to go out for an election and the baseline in which we start with.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, Eric, your feeling is you would like to see all the MUDs do the same thing regardless of ones that could pay cash. You'd still rather see us.
Well, as it relates to the resultant wholesale rate that you pass on to the customers, it would be.
Yeah,
best.
keep the same.
Right. So if certain MUDs decide I'm gonna throw cash at this piece of it and this piece of it, then now you're talking about different rates. Now you could play a timing game of when the rates go into effect. Some MUDs have some cash to buffer the first few months or something like that. Maybe you could play that game, but
That comes into play too, in terms of a rollback election too, right? I mean, if all the MUDs either go to rollback to pay for it, or they pass in the water rate, but if you